right, good morning, Laguna Honda. Come on, you guys can do better than that. Let's try it one more time. Good morning, Laguna Honda. That's a lot better. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Wook Lin. I am an assistant hospital administrator here. And this week I had the privilege of sponsoring this Kaizen workshop. So since July 2017, we've, as an organization, focused a lot on our discharge process, initially with our value stream, and since then there have been 2 Kaizen workshops where performance improvement activities or efforts were made in a way to allow us to discharge short-stay residents back into the community in a much better and organized fashion. This week's workshop was a little more non-traditional. We not only looked at improvement opportunities, but we also wanted to tie in the efforts that were made from Kaizen 1 and 2. So really we were hoping that at the end of this week that we could come up with a robust discharge process that would allow us to improve patient flow, as well as increase our access to San Franciscans who need post-acute care services. Also, when I first started on Monday, one of the first things I noticed that was part of the group makeup was it was all women. So for me, it was at that point I figured out that I should really just stay out of their way and then trust the process because they're all very capable, and then I didn't want to muddy up the water, so to speak. So with that being said, I do want to highlight 3 particular from this group. Our workshop leader, Crystal Figletti. Our team leader for the week, Naz Talai. And sitting in the front is Olivia Tang, who was really our glue for the week. So with that being said, I will turn it over to Crystal, who will formally begin our presentation for the week.
Good morning. I'm a little short. Can you hear me? All right. My name is Crystal Figletti, and I work in nursing informatics here at Laguna Honda. Our Kaizen workshop this week was from the value stream map number 2, which was for discharge. Our Kaizen workshop number 3 is operationalizing discharge identification and planning. The future map for the value stream map that Wook was talking about that took place in July was for discharge. There were 3 Kaizen workshops. So Kaizen means improvement or change for the better. The first Kaizen workshop was discharge care planning. The second was discharge preparation, and our workshop focused on operationalizing discharge identification and planning. The A3 that came out of the value stream map really at first identified that Kaizen 3 was going to be just about the day of discharge, but through the Kaizen 1 and 2, we identified that we wanted to expand that process and encompass more. So we're looking at utilizing current data to identify residents that are ready for discharge and operationalizing or optimizing discharge huddles.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Naz Talai. I work here in quality management, and I had the honor of being the team lead for this wonderful team this week. In preparation for Kaizen 3, the planning team put together 4 improvement requests to really guide the work of the improvement ideas that were developed by the team during the week. The team worked to improve 3 target metrics. Those metrics were reducing discharge huddle cycle time per resident, which was currently observed to be about 10 to 19 minutes per resident. Consolidating multiple lists into one user-friendly report, which currently the team, the RCT, is using 3 different reports, and creating criteria for a discharge that is objective and standardized for our current community reintegration performance improvement team. Currently, the team does not have this type of criteria.
Good morning. My name is Joanne Howard, and I'm a unit clerk on North 2. Our Kaizen group worked in a gemba. In Japanese, gemba means where the work is done. You'll see in this slide that Beth from UM educating our team on their portion of the discharge process. Followed by additional presentations, and with the knowledge from the departments, our Dream Kaizen team was given the task to bring all the disciplines together and form a short-stay discharge process that will join with works of Kaizens 1 and 2. Our next task was to invent a new technique the discharge huddle can use to meet Laguna Honda's short-stay residence criteria and make room for our immense demand of patients on the waiting list. Our research and collaboration at several unit discharge huddles aided our team in developing a new and improved process. The brilliant and talented Kaizen 3 team brainstormed, and we came up with an easy guide and a blueprint for the course of action. We are confident everyone will benefit from these Kaizens.
Hello, I'm Mary Elaine Ignacio from Nursing Education. And in this slide, so in addition to observing the discharge huddles, we also conducted interviews with the different RCT members. In our interviews, we asked what are some indications to change someone's code, what reports do they prepare or do they refer to during the huddle, and who changes the service code, etc. So after interviewing and after observing the discharge huddles, our team identified the different types of waste that we saw and we observed. And two main ways that we did identify were over-processing of multiple reports for discharge information, as well as a lack of standardized format for discharge huddles, which could lead to information gaps.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Vanessa L. I'm a Kaizen Promotion Office Specialist with the Department of Public Health. And I had the great pleasure of joining this wonderful team this week as a team member. And so, as Elaine had pointed out, we saw a number of wastes when we visited the Gemba, and with those ideas, or with those wastes in mind, we wanted to come up with improvement ideas, as you can see here. And based on those improvement ideas, we were able to categorize them into two main categories: simplification of reports used for discharge and streamlining the discharge huddle. And on this next slide, you'll be able to see an example of the idea summary sheet where we drew out and wrote out our ideas. So it was a great way for us to practice our artistic abilities to show you what our future state could look like.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Eileen Norman. I am from the San Francisco In-Home Sports Services Public Authority, very long name. But I had the honor of joining this Kaizen training as one of Laguna Honda's community partners. So in order to understand where the problems were, we needed to map out what the current process was for IDing residents that are ready for discharge. As an outsider, this was an extremely eye-opening experience. So all stakeholders involved were listed on the left-hand side, and then the different stages were listed on the top, and we went through and what steps were taken. So then we started the PDCA cycle for our proposed experiments, meaning plan, do, check, and act. In the planning stage, we identified two major problems. That is that there were too many lists and overprocessing of information, that we needed to consolidate and customize the information from the database to get one report that's user-friendly. And then we also noticed that the discharge huddles are unorganized with information gaps, and so we wanted to provide a universal organized structure for them to improve the efficiency.
Morning, everybody. My name is Susan. I'm from nursing, and I'm actually honored and grateful to have the privilege of being able to contribute to Laguna Honda processes for discharge planning. So once we did the planning, we broke up into teams and we did experiments. We went out to the Gemba to identify, what were the gaps, any other gaps that we did not think about when we were in the planning phase, and also other resources that the team, the resident care team might need. And after we went to the Gemba, we used the lean tools, time observation form, and the standard worksheet. Those two forms helped us look at the process and any wastes and any gaps. Then we went back to our workroom, and we were already in teams. We created our experiments and our expected outcomes. Then we went back out to the Gemba, and special shout out to South 6. Thank you very much for playing with us. We tested it out with South 6, the RCT for South 6, and we looked at our actual results and compared it to our expected outcomes. And then we went back for round 2 with tweaks into our the processes that we had created. After round 2, we did simulations in our in our workroom. We did several simulations. Sorry, and guess what? We came up with. You want to guess what? We came up with an amazing resource for the RCT that will give them up-to-date and meaningful information. And guess what else? No new forms to complete.
So Susan set me up really well for this slide. Thank you, Susan. I'm Jennifer Cartwright from administration, and I'm going to talk about our first proposed change, which is the discharge huddle worksheet. So what we found when we were in the Gemba is that we saw different people with different lists, and their information might have been a little different, so that might cause a defect in the discharge process. So what we thought was, what if you didn't have to do anything new? What if you already were putting your notes at SF-Get-Care, and we could make a report that would pull all the pertinent information into one report that was available to you, and you didn't have to do anything extra. What do you think? So this is where it's really helpful to have a good working relationship with your partner at SF-Get-Care, which is Joanne Holland, who was available to us, who helped us make different fields, and there will be some changes per se, but it shouldn't be extra. But the output that you're going to get is to have the most pertinent, relevant information in regard to discharge at any time. And we're really excited that you can use it during your huddles. And the huddle group will come up next and talk about what they've done, but we're really excited about this tool, and we hope that you will be too.
Hi, good morning. My name is Camille Kalu. I'm the charge nurse on South 3. So my group, what we created was the discharge huddle guide. We went out on the Gemba and observed a couple discharge huddles, and we found that there was no standard way of facilitating the discharge huddle. Everyone was kind of just going off on their own. So what we did was we created a laminated form that does not need to be filled out, no new form, no new binder, that whoever is facilitating the discharge huddle can use, and it touches on every important point for every discipline. So our goal was to create something that would help speed up the discharge huddle process and also make sure all of our bases are covered when we're discussing our residents that are going to be discharged, and also open the discussion for possibly changing hospital codes for residents that are long-term that we can potentially discharge.
Good morning, my name is Kirsty Isana from Quality Management. In this slide, you can see the evolution of our discharge huddle guide. It first started as an idea for a PDF form worksheet, but evolved to an easy visual discharge huddle guide sheet for each discipline to report out their information. We revised our guide sheet after testing it out at our Gemba and testing it many times in our mock discharge huddles to create our final discharge huddle guide. Again, this is not another form to fill out, just a guide sheet.
Morning, Lisa Besball, I'm Chief of Rehab. While we were looking at the discharge process from admission to discharge, we realized that there were multiple processes at play, including various time frames in terms of when forms needed to be filled out, when the team needed to meet, when were the discharge huddles needed to happen. And we needed to find a way to incorporate all that so we knew where we were in terms of time frame and what had to be done. So to better understand the process, we mapped out, and that's the bottom one, was the first iteration of it. We mapped out a visual timeline that clarified when crucial meetings needed to occur and what documentation needed to be included. And that ranges from our regular RCT quarterlies to our 30, 60, 90 day marks, time marks that you're going to be hearing about in the short stay policy, and also when the discharge huddles need to take place. So the first version is the version down below, and our awesome Kaizen staff put together a much more visually appealing version at the top.
Good morning, I'm Janet Gillen in Social Services, and we had actually some exciting outcomes from our targets. So what we were able to do is reduce the discharge huddle cycle time per resident from 10 to 19 minutes to 2 to 5. And this is something that team members have really been wanting, is to have a very short and efficient discharge huddle. We did consolidate 3 lists into one, so that all that information will be available to teams, and will make our department secretary very happy because it reduces this formatting time immensely. And we now have criteria for discharge that's objective and standardized for our community reintegration performance improvement team. So through this process, we also were able to use several lean principles. And just so you know what they are, it's setup reduction, and this is really identifying residents who are ready for discharge and having prep time ahead of huddles. Sequencing, and that's reports that are ready for use in discharge huddles. Over-processing, so we've eliminated too many reports generated by too many people. Resources, so we now have a consolidated report, and that reduces the time spent processing multiple reports. And finally, standardization. So just that the discharge huddles and also our social service notes and SF Get Care will all have same format.
Good morning, I'm Irene Blanco from nursing, and I've had the pleasure to be one of the process owners with Susanna Meneses and Janet Gillen. As you can see, it's been a long week, and we've created and identified countermeasures, and so the work doesn't stop today. So we would continue on in the next 30 days as the Kaizen Action Bulletin indicates right behind me. So one of the steps that we will be doing is connecting with Kaizen 1 and 2 so that we can actually look at the countermeasures that we've created throughout this process with VSM 2. The other thing is also we will be working with SF Get Care to make some changes so that we can generate the tools that will be needed for the discharge huddle. Also, we'll be training the resident care team of the standard work and the tools created this week, and we'll also be doing some simulations. Practice makes perfect, I would say. And our goal is to roll out with South 6, thank you South 6, to be able to implement the discharge planning timeline that Lisa actually briefly went over for our future state in discharge planning. And we would not have been successful without the support, the assistance, and the food through all this week from this group, this team. Thank you to the Kaizen team, the exec team, administration, RTC, Eileen from IHSS, KPO, RONA, MBS, the Charge Nurse Councils, the BIU, physicians, and especially our neighborhood. And this is our team with our Fearless Leader book. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Regina Gomez, and I work at Quality, and I am the VSM sponsor for discharge. Sorry. First off, I want to just say, wow. And I want to borrow a technique from Dante King, and I want to ask you to repeat what I said. Wow.